is ultimately 47. Now, like how you might have seen the Down syndrome children on the internet. You might have seen, it's like so common, and it's like a very, you cannot say that it is a rare disease anymore, right? There are so many children who do have Down syndrome, right? And they look very different from the normal children. So what are those characteristics that actually distinguish them from the normal ones? So first of all, they have a short stature. Okay, they have a short build. They're not that tall or anything of that sort. Okay. Secondly, they have a small round head. They have a smaller head than usual. They have a furrowed tongue, and their palm, like how our palms, they have creases, but their palms have much more than normal. Okay. Then they have a big wrinkled tongue, and the development in them, such as the physical development, the psychomotor development, and the mental development, all of these developments, they are retarded in them, meaning it's very slow. Either it is very like the child may be 10 years of age and would not know how to speak proper words. That can also happen, right? And these children, they are mostly like they are not fertile, you can say, but some of them can be. So we can say that as far as the physical development aspect goes, so they have underdeveloped gonads and genitals. Okay, even after reaching the age of maturity, those students, I'm saying, those children that have Down syndrome, they have underdeveloped gonads and genitals. Okay, so these are the following features. Now you might have noticed that in your NCRT book, a diagram of a child with all these like symptoms and characteristics would be given in your book. Just check it out once. See, it's there in your book, the picture of a baby with like labeled palm crease, furrowed tongue. Okay, so usually like what happens that they use this particular diagram as a direct question, and they'd ask you like, okay, these are all the symptoms or these are all the characters. Now tell me which disease are they referring to. Also, there are some more points other than these six that are actually not mentioned in NCRT, such as the children with Down syndrome, they have almond-shaped eyes and they are slightly like tilted towards one side. They don't have the normal eyes like we do. Like their eyes are slightly tilted. That is also one way to like get it. Okay, like they have Down syndrome. Now, if you ever see a child with Down syndrome, you'll know that that person has a Down syndrome because of the following characters that are actually visibly seen in them. Okay, understood? So this was Down syndrome. Now moving on to the next disease, that is Klinefelter syndrome. Now you must remember that this Klinefelter syndrome, it usually takes place or happens in the males. Okay. Now how? So it is caused due to the presence of an additional copy of X chromosome, which results into 44 plus XXY type chromosome set. Normally it is 44 plus XX or XY, right? But here it is 44 plus double XY type of set. Now, why does this defect occurs? So this defect occurs due to the union, or you can say fusion. So due to the union or the fusion of an abnormal egg, that is 22 plus XX, this is abnormal, right? And then the fusion of this abnormal egg with a normal sperm, that is 22 plus Y. Or it can also take place when a normal egg is fusing with an abnormal sperm. The condition can be both. And in both these conditions, the offspring would have the Klinefelter syndrome, meaning having an extra set of chromosomes. Now, by looking at these things that I've written, abnormal egg with the genotype, normal sperm with the genotype, normal egg with the genotype, and abnormal sperm with the genotype, can you people quickly tell me that what is wrong with the word, like why I have written abnormal wherever I've written abnormal? I mean, like this case and this case. What is the abnormal thing over here that I've written? Wait, that's going to bug me. You think I just have to correct it? If the abnormal went on being abnor in blue color and mull in this color, I would have just, it would have bugged me the whole time. Yes, yes. Now tell me, what is the abnormal thing over here?
That there are two X chromosomes present. It's only supposed to be 22 plus X, right?
And what
Otherwise,
about the abnormal sperm?
I'm sorry.
What about the abnormal sperm?
Ma'am, your voice is kind of very low.
It's fine. Is it fine now? I was asking, what is the abnormal thing with the sperm? The egg, you've told me. What is the abnormal thing with the sperm here?
There are two X chromosomes.
With the sperm, I'm asking.
It should either be only X or Y.
Yes. And why? Because we are talking about gametes, right? So the gamete can, like one gamete can either have an X or a Y chromosome from the pair, like father, and it can have an X or again an X from the mother. So since I've written that here, both the sets are there, meaning this gamete is not haploid, isn't it? So that is the abnormality over here. Did you get it, Yusuf? All right, very good. Now, for those people that actually have, like, they are a product of this type of faulty fusion, okay, so such persons are sterile males. Okay, they can't reproduce, first of all. Then, their overall masculine development, okay, like, see, they are sterile, they would have overall masculine development, meaning they would look like a male, but they would also have certain female characters in them because of this, because an extra X chromosome is there. Okay, so that extra X chromosome will confer certain female characteristics to this particular individual, such as feminine pitched voice. Okay, those males would have feminine pitched voice. Also, in such males that have Klinefelter syndrome, development of breast takes place. Okay, not functional, but the development of breast takes place. Okay, or this development of breast is also called as gynecomastia. This is the scientific term for it, gynecomastia. Okay, so these are the certain you can say symptoms or the characteristics of the person who has Klinefelter's syndrome. Always remember that this takes place in the males, and whoever, like whichever the male is, he will be a sterile male. Okay, and he will have an overall masculine development. He would look like a boy, but he would have certain characteristics that are feminine because of the presence of that extra X chromosome. Got it? Any doubts? Okay, now moving forward, we have Turner syndrome. Now, this disorder is because of monosomy, and monosomy is depicted by 2n minus 1, meaning here the, like in the egg, both the sex chromosomes would be absent, such as it, like this whole syndrome, that is Turner syndrome, it occurs or appears due to the fusion of an abnormal egg, which is 22 plus X, 22 plus 0, and a normal sperm that is 22 plus X, or it can be 22 plus Y. Okay, but here, always remember that Turner syndrome usually takes place in the females. Okay, whereas the other condition can be a normal egg that is 22 plus X and an abnormal sperm that is 22 plus O, which is 0. Okay, so talking about these females, so such a female is sterile. Okay, now these females who have the Turner syndrome, they would be sterile. And why? Because here the ovaries are the primary sex organ, you people remember? So here the ovaries are rudimentary. What is the meaning of rudimentary? So it means that the ovaries are either underdeveloped or they are poorly developed. Okay, so they can't perform as the primary sex organ. Okay, and apart from this, these females that have the Turner syndrome, they would lack the secondary sexual characters. All the secondary sexual characters will be lacking in them. Now, I have two questions. How is the ovary, or like, why is the ovary called as the primary sex organ?
I think for two reasons. Number one, it secretes the secondary sex hormones, and then the second thing, it helps in the development of the ovum, the development of the ovum to express ovum.
The development of?
Ovum, egg.
Not the development, the production. Okay, the main reason why it is known as the primary sex organ is because ovaries make the ovum. Okay, if ovaries are not there, there will be no ovum. And the second reason why they are known as the primary sex organ is because they secrete the hormones, which are the estrogen in case of females, right? So, what happened?
I said that.
You said this?
Yes, I said your point.
You said the secondary sexual development.
Sex hormones.
Oh, but there's nothing as secondary sex hormones. There
I
are
see. Okay.
sex hormones. Okay. Yeah. So that is and okay. And the next question is, what are the secondary sexual characters in the females?
Development of breast, then pubic hair, and then hair in the underarms, and then voice, I think, deepening of voice.
Yes, exactly. Also, apart from all these, like the broadening of the waist, having the menstrual cycle, which is the main one, right? Having the menstrual cycle. So these are all the secondary sexual characters. So these things would not be developed in the Turner syndrome female. Okay. So with this, we have come to the end of the chromosomal disorders. Do you people have any doubts? No doubts? Also, now the last topic of this particular chapter is pedigree analysis. Okay. Now, pedigree analysis is the method to study the human genetic disorders, meaning how the disorder has been passed on from one generation to the other generation. That is the pedigree analysis. We analyze that. Okay. And the analysis of the traits in several generations of a family is called as pedigree analysis. This is the definition for pedigree analysis. Okay. Now, in a pedigree analysis, the inheritance of a particular trait is represented in the family tree over generations. So, like the pedigree analysis is not just for one child or like one sets of parents. No, it is for certain generations that have been happening. Okay, the certain generations that are present. So, to if we want to trace down the inheritance, so we'll use pedigree analysis. Okay. Now, pedigree analysis can be helpful in detecting the diseases such as the Mendelian disorders. So, all sorts of Mendelian disorders, like these many hemophilia, color blindness, phenylketonuria, sickle cell anemia, thalassemia, myotonic dystrophy, all of these can be detected, or the source of these disease can be detected with the help of pedigree analysis. Okay. Now, talking about the certain symbols which are used in the pedigree analysis. So, a square, normal square, is used for unaffected male to denote unaffected male, meaning a male that is normal, does not have any disease. Then, a circle would represent unaffected female. Then, this diamond shape, that would represent the sex unspecified. We do not know whether it is a female or a male. And these three, meaning when you color, or the one that has a solid, the solid square, or the solid circle, or the solid this thing diamond shape, all of these would represent affected individuals. It is not just lined, it is filled with the color. Okay, so that is your affected individuals. Now, this line, meaning one male and one female connected with one single line, it represents mating. Okay, mating in between them. And when two lines are present, it would represent mating between relatives. Okay. meaning like marriage in between the relation that happens, right? So that is represented by this. Now, this is how you would define the proper, you can say, the chart or the family tree. So here these are the parents, and from the parents these are the offsprings. And always remember that the offsprings, like whatever is present over here, meaning from left to right, is the order of birth. So here the female is born first and then the male is born. From left to right, the order is of the birth. Okay. Now later on, if we want to represent that the male child of the parents is affected with any disease, so this is how we'll depict it. Okay, meaning here male, female, mating between them, the offspring, that is a male, it is affected with some sort of chromosome, this thing, Mendelian disorder. Then comes this triangle with 5 written just in the middle. So it means that five unaffected offspring. It does not signify whether 5 unaffected males are there or females are there. It is just offsprings that are 5 of them are affected. Now, talking about the pedigree analysis, so with the help of this, we can tell that whether the disease which has been inherited, whether it is autosomal dominant, whether it is autosomal recessive, or whether the trait is sex linked, meaning linked with the X chromosome, such as the hemophilia. Okay. Now, in the case of recessive allele, so the characteristic condition can appear in the progeny of unaffected parents. Read this sentence and tell me how. Then I'll tell you how. But first, you tell me how.
The parents could be carriers instead of being.
Exactly. The parents would be carriers, and if they are carriers, then obviously they're unaffected, right? They do not have the disease, but they're carrying the disease. So that is how it will be recessively affecting the progeny. Okay? May appear in the progeny, may not appear. We have made the crosses already, right? Now, two affected individuals cannot have an unaffected child. For example, if two like parents, like the mother and the father, both of them are affected with some sort of Mendelian disorder, so it is inevitable, and that child will definitely 100% inherit the disease. Okay, it's not possible that they can have an unaffected child. Okay. Now talking about all sorts of types of inherited disease. So these are the types. We have autosomal dominant disease, we have autosomal recessive, X-linked dominant, and X-linked recessive. Now you already know which one are there, right? Because of that chart that I have given you. Okay. Now, see, with this topic, the pedigree analysis, there are certain questions that come. Like they would give you the family, like the chart, the analysis, and then you'd have to analyze and tell whether the disease is of which type. Okay, so this thing wherein I would ask you, oh, am I audible now? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I was asking that, okay, this, like from the pedigree analysis, the question that comes is like they'll give you the whole analysis, like the pedigree, and they'd ask you whether the disease or the trait is autosomal. If it is autosomal, is it autosomal dominant? If it is autosomal recessive, same goes for the X. Okay, these kind of questions can come from this particular topic. So pedigree analysis is clear to you? Now see, I was thinking the application part of it, I would do it in the next class. Okay. For now, I have explained you the basics of the pedigree analysis and all the symbols and everything. Now tell me if you have any doubts in this particular chapter anywhere, because this chapter is over basically. Also, Yusuf, you haven't noted down anything, right, in today's class? So you can note it down. Wait. Note it down, and then we'll start evolution, which is the last chapter. It makes me sad. Yesterday I was like, like before the classes, I always plan out what would I ask you people, how would I frame the whole class. And I was like, dude, I will be starting the last chapter with you people. And I was like, that made me so sad. That made me literally so sad. I was like, okay, this is the last chapter. Imagine we started from this thing, sexual reproduction in flowering plants, and we are nearing the end. It made me very sad. I mean, it's not actually sad, it's bittersweet. Like, I'm happy that it's coming to an end because, we have conquered all these chapters. But then again, I'm sad at the same time, is because you people are going. So it's sad, it's sad. Also at that point of time where I was feeling sad that it's coming to an end, then I thought of another thing, that I'm not going to let you off so easily. So after the whole syllabus is over, we'll start it from the top, and that is not, I will not be teaching it. I will rather be asking you questions. It will be sort of like an oral round, and you people will be answering to me. Okay, so looking forward to
So
that.
like basically revision classes, right?
Yeah, that will be a revision classes. I just want you people to score the best in biology. The rest you can manage. But biology, I took the responsibility. I'll make you people score above 90. That's my aim. Okay, and another thing I was meaning to ask you people, amongst the whole entire syllabus of class 12th, which chapter is the most interesting and which one is the most worst chapter? Like the most not interesting chapter? Boring. I mean, according to you, it can vary. Hmm.
I think the most uninteresting is molecular basis.
Okay, and the most interesting?
According to me, human health and disease.
Okay, human health and disease. And what about you, Rajita? You're so quiet today. What happened? Already feeling sad that you're going to
No,
leave?
no, no. I haven't been studying, so I'm trying to concentrate. That's why.
Oh,
The most interesting would be biotechnology for me,
hmm.
and then the most boring would be evolution. Or I
Yeah,
hate studying evolution.
evolution is boring for me too. But
Or
very. Hmm.
sexual
Or
reproduction in humans. I don't like it.
like human reproduction.
It's just human reproduction. Too many cells, too many going inside, then going inside, and then going.
Yeah, it's kind of
No,
deep.
I agree too.
Human reproduction. Yeah, I mean, it's not boring, but it's complicated. I don't think it's boring. Is it?
Boring. Yeah,
It's
it's
boring?
boring. Yeah.
Okay.
But then biotech was good. Both biotechs were so good.
Biotech is it's really good.
Ma'am, yeah, she was such a good teacher. When I was studying for exam again, I could remember all the explanations. So,
Yeah, especially the biotechnology. It was in my mind during test.
Oh, that's amazing. It's amazing. See, when it happens, like certain if certain memories are associated with certain topics, then you people are going to remember. Now, I can bet on it that you people will never forget about color blindness anymore because of the silly jokes we made yesterday, meaning the previous class, that the people would have difficulty with the traffic signals.
traffic lights.
Yeah, so I know that you people are never going to forget it though.
I mean, I thought about it later and laughed again.
I know, right? During the class only, I was like, oh, what am I saying? How can I be so insensitive? So, anyway, imagine if anyone here would have been colorblind and I wouldn't have known that. Just imagine what would have happened. Also, listen, as far as evolution goes, I don't think you people need notes because the whole chapter is like all sorts of theories which are there from the NCRT. Nothing extra. I can teach you from that. So I will be using the PDF only. If at any point you start getting bored, then you tell me, then I'll make you write something. Or I'll share any crazy anecdote or something. Okay. So we'll tackle evolution like that because I hate that chapter and it's like it's my fault particularly because I should have done that in the middle and kept some interesting topic for the end of the thing. But we're only left with the most hideous chapter of all. But okay, we'll tackle it. Dan Yusuf?
I have written pedigree analysis.
The whole? The whole thing? All right. Just let me share evolution. All right. Are you able to see it? Okay. If at any point it starts getting boring, just tell me. Just tell me, okay? All right. So starting with evolution. Now, what is evolution, right? So evolution is this. Sorry. Okay. So starting with what is evolution? So evolution is the study of how the life forms first of all evolved, meaning came to existence. Secondly, how it changed from one form to another, and how whatever organisms that are present in today's world, how they are present, what their ancestors were, like who were their ancestors and everything. All of these things we'd study here. Okay. So evolutionary biology is the study of history of life forms on the earth. All sorts of, not just humans, animals, microorganisms, and everything comes under this. Okay. Now, what exactly is evolution? To understand the changes in the flora and the fauna that have occurred over millions of years on the earth, we must have understanding of the context of origin of life, which is the evolution of earth. Much before the organisms evolved, first the earth has to be in existence, right? Then only we can live on. So first the earth evolved, then came the first, like most primitive organisms, the prokaryotes, then came the eukaryotes, and amongst eukaryotes all sorts of different phylums and everything came. Okay, now talking about the origin of life. So one thing here, they asked this, I don't know why, but stellar distances are measured in light years. Okay, meaning the galactic distances, they are measured in light years. Now what we
Isn't that a physics question?
yeah, I mean, it's not technically, but it's like the measurement that they are saying, but it is, I've seen this in MCQs sometimes. So you should know that light years is how we measure the stellar distances. Now, what we see today is an object whose emitted light started its journey millions of years back and from trillions of kilometers away and reaching our eyes now. However, see, I told you this whole chapter is just this only, kahani. However, when we see objects in our immediate surrounding, we see them instantly and hence in the present time. Therefore, when we see stars, we apparently are peeping into the past. Thought to ponder. We are peeping into the past. Now you should go into your balcony or the terrace and you should look at the stars. And do you see stars? No, right? You do? I haven't seen stars in a while. I haven't. That's why, like, it came to my mind. I haven't seen stars in a while. I
I
don't know
mean,
why.
we wouldn't ever see them over here, but then in India, I think I've seen when I go to India.
Yeah. I haven't seen, I don't know. Anyway, whoever has seen, it's good. I haven't. I tried to, but I haven't. Anyway, so the origin of life is considered a unique event in the history of universe. The universe is vast. Relatively speaking, the earth itself is almost only a speck. Okay. The universe is very old, almost 20 billion years old. Huge clusters of galaxies comprise the universe. Galaxies contain stars and clouds of gas and dust. Considering the size of the universe, Earth is indeed a speck. Yes, obviously, the planet Earth is very small if you look at the galaxy. Now, there is a theory that is the Big Bang theory, not the series, but exactly the theories. So, this Big Bang theory attempts to explain us the origin of universe. How did the universe came into existence? It talks of a single huge explosion, unimaginable in physical terms. The universe expanded, and hence the temperature came down. Hydrogen and helium formed sometime later. So, after the huge explosion, meaning after the Big Bang, the two gases that were primarily formed, or they came into existence, were hydrogen and helium. Now, the gas is condensed under gravitation because gravitational force has always been there, and then form the galaxies of the present day universe. In the solar system of the Milky Way galaxy, Earth was supposed to have been formed about 4.5 billion years back. Okay, there was no atmosphere on the early Earth. Water vapor, methane, carbon dioxide, and ammonia released from the molten masses covered the surface. Now, see, what are the things that we are seeing here? Water vapor, methane, CH4, carbon dioxide, and ammonia, NH3. Okay, these three gases. You remember that we saw this when we are talking about the Big Bang theory, because this is going to come in the next topic also. Now, the UV rays, the ultraviolet rays from the sun broke up water into hydrogen and oxygen, right? When water will be split, we'll have hydrogen and oxygen, isn't it? And the lighter hydrogen, the H2 molecule escaped because the lighter gas would always go up, right? And the heavier gas would stay down. So the lighter gas, that is the H2, it escaped. Now, oxygen combined with ammonia and methane to form water yet again, CO2 and other compounds. Now, after this, the ozone layer was formed. Ozone is O3. Okay. Like when, like, okay, when oxygen gets treated or gets reacted by the UV light, then the oxygen splits into its molecules, or you can say atoms. You remember this? When like oxygen atoms, you people might have studied in chemistry, right? Now, when one atom of oxygen mixes with the oxygen molecule, then what is formed is ozone. Okay. And this ozone is sort of like present as a blanket all around the earth, and this ozone is responsible for protecting us from the harmful UV rays of the sun. Okay. Now, as it cooled, the water vapor fell as rain to fill all the depressions and then form the oceans. Okay, because of since the rain, the oceans were found. Now, 4.5 billion years ago, earth was made, right? Then life appeared 500 million years after the formation of Earth. Okay, meaning almost 4 billion years back. Now, these data, like these are important. Like, when did Earth was made? So, 4.5 billion years ago. When life appeared? So, 4 billion years ago. Okay, like 500 million years after the Earth was formed. Now, did life come from outer space? Some scientists believe that it came from outside. Early Greek thinkers thought units of life called as spores were transferred to different planets, including the Earth. Okay, panspermia is still a favorite idea for some astronomers. This is like an imaginative thinking about it. Like, how did life appear? Like, some packet of spores were distributed to all sorts of planets, and because of that, the life appeared everywhere. This is the theory of panspermia. Obviously, this is nothing. Now, for a long time, it was also believed that life came out of decaying and rotting matter, such as straw, mud, etc. This is the theory of spontaneous generation. Okay, so two theories we have seen. First is panspermia, second is theory of spontaneous generation. Now, later on, Louis Pasteur, by careful experimentation, demonstrated that life came only from pre existing life. Okay, this is sort of like one of the points of the cell theory. You might have remembered from class 11th if you have studied cell chapter. In there was cell theory. 3 points were there. One of the point was that cells come from pre-existing cells. So life comes from pre-existing life. Now, how did he actually demonstrated this particular thing that he was saying? He showed that in a pre-sterilized flask. He took a flask which was sterilized, okay, free from contamination. Now, life did not come from killed yeast, while in another flask open to air, new living organisms arose from killed yeast. Okay, first was when no oxygen was supplied, second case was when oxygen and proper air was supplied. But this theory, the spontaneous generation theory, was dismissed once and for all. However, it did not answer how did first like life came on the earth. Now, this is important. Oparin of Russia and Haldane of England proposed that the first form of life could have come from pre existing non living organic molecules, such as the RNA and proteins. And if you think about it, their thought behind it was right only, right? All of us, every single individual, we are made of biomolecules. Our whole body is made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen and their compounds, right? Everywhere. If you go to the cellular level and even beyond that, like you take out the bone, you demineralize the bone and you do all sorts of things, ultimately you'll be left with calcium, you'll be left with carbon and everything. So basically we're saying, they are saying that life came from non-living organic molecules. Non-living because obviously RNA, protein, these are not living things. Organic molecules because they occur in the living beings. Okay, and that formation of life was preceded by chemical evolution. Meaning, first chemical evolution took place and then the evolution of life took place. So, what is the chemical evolution? So, formation of diverse organic molecules from inorganic constituents. Organic ones are being made from inorganic, meaning this nitrogen, phosphorus, and everything, they are coming together and making the organic molecules. Getting my point? Hmm? Now, the conditions on Earth were at that point of time high temperature, volcanic storms, reducing atmosphere which contain CH4, methane, ammonia, right? Now, in the year 1953, S.L. Miller, okay, he was an American scientist, created similar conditions in a laboratory scale. This theory, he took this theory and actually tried to create it in a lab condition. So, what he did, he created electric discharge in a closed flask containing methane, hydrogen, and ammonia, and water vapors at 800 degrees Celsius, meaning all these compounds that I made you write, these were being used at that point of time to explain how did actually happen. So he observed the formation of amino acids. When all of these things were provided in the flask, which was supplied with the electric discharge, ultimately amino acids were formed. Now, in similar experience, like experiments, like others also did, so they observed the formation of sugars, nitrogen bases, pigments, and fats. Okay, now an analysis of meteorite content also reveals similar compounds, indicating that similar processes are occurring elsewhere in the space also. So basically, we are seeing that first the like in the chemical evolution, the first ever thing to be evolved was amino acid, and then for demonstrating this chemical evolution only, when other people were doing the same experiment, sugars, nitrogen bases, pigments, and fats, all of these are also that like they got these compounds also. Now, if you look at the chapter biomolecules in class 11, you'd find the mentioning of all of these things because these are the ones that make up the whole entire humans. Okay. Now, with this, the chemical evolution theory was accepted. Okay, like whatever you're saying, it is valid. But still, we do not have any idea as to how the first life form appeared because nobody was present at that time. And whoever was present is not alive. So we have no evidence as to why it appeared, how it. Now, the first non-cellular life form could have originated. Okay, and this is the apparatus that S.L. Miller did. Okay, and here you see they can, actually ask you which gases were added. First question. Okay, and then they would ask you what was the first thing they observed, like which was the thing formed. So amino acids were formed. Okay, and this apparatus they can ask you about it. Like why did Miller do this apparatus? So why did he do it? To demonstrate chemical evolution, which will like chemical evolution would be preceding the life's evolution. Okay.
Can they ask us to identify the apparatus, things like that?
They can. Maybe they'll give you the whole entire apparatus labeled once. Okay, and they'll ask you, what is this? Who did this experiment? What was the outcome? What was the thought behind doing this experiment? And this, like, what were the gases used? This is the most common asked question. What were the gases used for this particular experiment? Now, let me just quickly check what other questions can come from this. Okay, yeah, see. An experiment to prove that organic compounds were the basis of life was performed by whom? So the options are von Helmont, Oparin, Fox, S.L. Miller. Okay. And then Stanley Miller, the S stands for Stanley. So Stanley Miller had put the Oparin-Haldane theory to test in the year 1953? Then which gases were used? Okay, this is direct in the MCQ part. So the name of the gases is very important. So this is clear? Any doubts? Also, they have mentioned certain theories. So the first theory was panspermia, right? That the spores were dispersed and because of that life arose. And the second was the theory of spontaneous generation. Okay, and apart from that, there is the first one is Big Bang theory. That's clear. Second is panspermia. That's clear. Spontaneous generation is clear. All right. And this S.L. Miller experiment is clear. Why he did it? He did this experiment, but who proposed the idea that chemical evolution took place first? Who were the two scientists?
Spanky Miller.
What?
Uh,
Say. Who was the scientist?
Stanky Miller and
Stanky? No, there's no Stanky Miller. He's Stanley Miller. No Stinky Stanky Miller.
how
Okay,
do you
he's
pronounce it?
Stanley. Stanley Miller.
Oh, Stanley Miller. Okay. What's
Okay.
the other one?
Yeah, but Stanley Miller was a person who did this experiment. Okay. He actually demonstrated it with the help of an apparatus, an experiment. But he did so because there were two scientists that gave the theory before. They did not give the practical, they did not give the experiment, but they gave the theory for it. I'm asking you the names of those scientists, two scientists. Their names are very famous.
Louis Pasteur.
No. Oparin and Haldane. Okay, those two were the scientists because of which this person got the idea to do so. Okay.
No,
Also,
Louis Pasteur was the spontaneous cone.
yeah. And another thing is that this particular theory, which was given by Oparin and Haldane, it is known as the theory of chemical evolution. Okay, the theory of chemical evolution. So you first of all you write down theories of evolution. Give the heading theories of evolution, or you give theories of origin of life. Okay, now firstly, see, there are two more theories that are not there in your syllabus, but I'll talk about it. Okay, this is very theoretical. See, first is the theory of special creation. Okay, you can just write the name of the theory, don't have to write anything else about it. So now see, this is according to the, I think, religious studies or based on the religious aspect of it. Okay, and this theory, the theory of special creation, it was given by Father Soares. Okay, now what he said is that God created life in 6 days from materia prima, and man was created on the sixth day, according to this theory. Okay, so, and if we go according to the theory of special creation, the earth is about 4,000 years old. That's it. Okay, this is what the theory of special creation says. Now, obviously, this can't be taken into consideration because, first of all, no evidence is given, and the earth being only 4,000 years old is not possible, right? So this was the first theory. Now, after that came the second theory, which was the theory of catastrophism. Okay, the theory of catastrophism. Again, not in your syllabus, but I'm just telling you. Basically, this theory states that there was a certain period of time, okay, wherein in that point of time, a catastrophe occurred, because of which the whole entire population was wiped out. Okay, nothing was left. And it almost killed all sorts of living organisms in that particular point of time. And then again, this is a religious or spiritual theory that people gave. So then God created a new generation or the new life from the inorganic matter. So this is the theory of catastrophism. Again, of no use to the science point of view. Okay. Now, after this came the third theory, that is the theory of biogenesis. Okay, theory of biogenesis. Now, this was the theory given by Louis Pasteur. Okay, the theory of biogenesis. And this states that life came from life, pre-existing life. Okay, so according to Louis Pasteur, life came from pre-existing life. Okay, and he also performed an experiment, but that is not from the syllabus. So you should know that Louis Pasteur, he was the one that said that life came from pre-existing life. This is the third theory. Clear? Now, the theory of panspermia, you remember? The spores one. So this theory was known as cosmozoic theory, the fourth theory. That is cosmozoic, Cosmozoic, cosmozoic theory. Now, in this particular theory, some scientists believe that life came on Earth from other planets or other stars. Okay, during because of this theory. And this was mainly this theory came as a thinking of earlier Greek thinkers. Okay, and they said that life was present all over the universe. Okay, and life was transferred from one planet. You write down this line. According to this theory, life was transferred from one planet to another, in the form of some small units of life, called as spores, full stop. The transfer of spores were termed as panspermia. Okay, and it is like much you can say enjoyed theory by the astronomers, but again, since it has no scientific proof, it is of no use to us. Okay, now coming on to the fifth theory, that is the theory of spontaneous generation. Okay, the theory of spontaneous generation. Now, this theory states that the living organisms came from the non-living matter present on the earth. Okay, write down. This theory states that the living organisms come from the non-living matter present on the earth. Okay, and also according to this theory, they actually believe that the dead and rotting materials such as the mud, the straw, would give rise to organisms like frogs and flies. Okay, again, nothing can actually be made out of this. Also, yes, that is all. Also, this concept of spontaneous generation was disapproved by many scientists. Okay, and one of those scientists to disapprove this theory was Louis Pasteur. Okay, he explained that okay, like life did not come from killed yeast, that thing that I said, and when the air was given, blah blah. So this theory is also discarded. No scientific proof is there. Then came the sixth theory, that is the theory of chemical evolution. The theory of chemical evolution. This was, or you can also call this theory as Oparin-Haldane hypothesis. Oparin, Oparin hyphen Haldane, Haldane, Haldane hypothesis. Now again, this theory states that life came from pre-existing non-living organic molecules. Life came from pre-existing non-living organic molecules such as RNA, proteins. And this theory also states that the formation of life was preceded by chemical evolution. Chemical evolution. Okay. Done. All right. Now the experimental evidence. It was given by S.L. Miller. So you can write down that the experimental evidence for chemical evolution. The experimental evidence for chemical evolution was given by Stanley Miller. Okay. And in that experiment, what was the first molecule formed? Amino acids. And you should also mention what were the gases used. So methane, ammonia, H2, and water vapor. Done? All right. Now let's move forward. So, okay, they're saying that the first non-cellular life forms could have originated 3 billion years back. They would have been giant molecules such as the RNA, protein, polysaccharides. These are complex sugars. These capsules reproduce their molecules perhaps. Then the first cellular form of life did not possibly originate till about 2000 million years ago. These were probably single cell organisms. All the life forms were present in the water environment only, meaning in the earlier times, every single one or any single cell which was present, it was aquatic in habitat. Okay. This version of a biogenesis, meaning the life arose slowly through evolutionary forces from non-living molecules, is accepted by majority. Okay, this theory, ultimately the chemical evolution and biogenesis, this is accepted by everyone. So this whole thing is clear. Now, see, in this particular chapter, the whole introductory part that is there, okay, all sorts of experiments and all sorts of theories, these are not that important in my opinion because they don't ask you about this a lot. Maybe they would ask you like what are the certain theories. So now you know about those theories. But the main thing from this particular chapter is all sorts of like the concept of natural selection. This part that we're going to start now. Okay, this part. Now this is very significant in this chapter. Okay, now let us start. So conventional religious literature tells us about the theory of special creation. This theory has three connotations. One, that all living organisms, species or types that we see today were created as such. Two, the diversity was always the same since the creation and will be the same in the future also. Three, the earth is about 4,000 years old. These are the three connotations of the religious literature that we know. Now, all these ideas were strongly challenged during the 19th century based on the observations that were made during a sea voyage in a sail ship which is known as HMS Beagle round the world by whom? So Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin is the one who took this voyage. Okay. And he concluded that the existing life forms share similarities to varying degrees not only amongst themselves but also with the life forms that existed millions of years ago. Okay, so whatever organism or the life forms that are present in today's world, they have some sort of similarity to the ancestral time. Okay, now many such life forms do not exist anymore, right? Such like some of like mammoths, not there, not anywhere, right? So some of the life forms they do not exist, and some that they do, they actually you can say resemble to the pre-existing ones. Now there had been extinctions of different life forms in the years gone by, just as new forms of life arose at different periods of history of the earth. There has been gradual evolution of life forms. Always remember that evolution does not happen in one day. It would always take many, many years for any organism or any population to evolve. Okay? Now, any population has built in variation in characteristics, meaning the introduction of new characters in the certain traits they have. Those characteristics which enable some to survive better in natural conditions, such as the harsh weather, like climatic conditions, unavailability or the availability or the excessive availability of the food, and certain physical factors, right? So all those who have adapted themselves would survive better than the ones who did not, isn't it? So now these people, now see, survival in terms of biology. Okay, always remember, it is not being alive. More than being alive, it is reproducing. Okay, meaning creating the next generation. That is what it like is about. Okay, got it? What happened? Why are you laughing? All right, so moving forward.
Surviving is not about being alive.
Yeah, it's not. Actually, it's not. It's rather being, being able to reproduce. Okay, meaning getting more and more life like you in the world, dominating. Okay. So moving forward, another word used is fitness. Okay, meaning this survival instinct, this ability to survive better than the other people or the other population. This is termed as fitness. And according to Charles Darwin, this fitness is nothing but reproductive fitness. Hmm? So the another word used is fitness of the individual or of the whole entire population. The fitness, according to Darwin, refers ultimately and only to reproductive fitness. Okay. Now, hence, those who are better fit in an environment leave more progeny than the others, meaning more their population would be there, stable or increasing. These, therefore, will survive more and hence are selected by the nature. So, this whole process is known as natural selection, wherein the organisms are selected naturally by the nature, okay, when they are reproductively fit, okay, meaning let's just say the natural selection can be in terms of many things. Let's just say it is in terms of flood, okay, it's a natural calamity that took place. Now floods can also wipe out the whole population. Humans are the ultimate thing, but think about the lower organisms, right? The flood can actually wipe out the whole entire population. So all those organisms, let's just say there are some sort of insects. Okay, there are two populations. The first one is the insects that are normally they can grasp things and they can move along. The second ones that have a tighter grip. Now, if at all flood comes, the ones with the tighter grip would hold on to the surfaces and not get blown away, as compared to the ones that had the looser grip. So which one would survive? The tighter grip ones. And ultimately, they would reproduce and make more progeny, and their population is actually selected by the nature. Okay. So natural selection. Okay, this term natural selection is a big mechanism of evolution. Only those organisms would evolve, only those populations would evolve that have been naturally selected. Okay. Any doubt? Now, let us remember that Alfred Wallace, a naturalist who worked in Malay archipelago, had also come to similar conclusions around the same time, during the time that Charles Darwin went on the voyage. In due course of time, apparently new types of organisms are recognizable. All the existing life forms share similarities and share some common ancestors, right? However, these ancestors were present at the different time in the history of Earth, meaning in different epochs, in different periods, or in different eras. So these organisms can be present in all different time periods of the Earth. Now, the geological history of the Earth closely relates with the biological history of the Earth. How? If the geological history of the Earth says that the Earth was covered with water, then what would the biological history say? That all the organisms were aquatic in nature. They had certain apparatus to swim. Hmm? Then, if the geological history of the Earth says that it became like slowly land, like water was like dried up and land came onto existence, then now these life forms that were primarily aquatic, they would become amphibians, being present on both. Later on, the land or the terrestrial ones were there. So this is how we can say that the geological history of the earth is very closely associated with the biological history of the earth. Okay, clear? All right. Now let us see what are the evidences for evolution. What are the certain evidence? Now, evidence that evolution of life forms has indeed taken place on Earth has come from many quarters. Fossils. Fossils are remains of hard parts of life forms found in the rocks. Rocks from sediments and a cross section of Earth's crust indicates the arrangement of sediments one over the other during the long history of the earth. When you cut a piece of soil, okay, you took out the section like how you cut a cake. Just imagine the cake being layered cakes. So same way, if you cut the soil also, you'll find there are certain horizons of the soil. You might have studied the soil horizon, right? A horizon, B horizon, C, bedrocks and everything. So when we do so, okay, we find that there are so many arrangements in that particular column, right? Now, every single layer would denote a different time. Okay, like the soils, they keep on being formed throughout the time, right? New and new depositions taking place. Now, different aged rock sediments contain fossils of different life forms who probably have died during the formation of a particular sediment. Okay, maybe they would have been covered with the soil and they got oppressed there only. Now, this showed that when that soil was being formed at that point of time, this organism was alive. This type of organism existed. Okay. Some of them also appear to, like, some of them appear very similar to the modern organisms. Okay. So they represent extinct organisms such as the dinosaurs. Now, it also says that, okay, dinosaurs did exist. And how did we find that? Because certain fossilized remains are there to prove the study of them. Okay. And what is the study of fossil known as? Do you people know? If you have watched Friends, it was Ross's this thing, occupation. It starts with the P.
Is it something like cryptology?
Paleontology.
Oh, I see. Then I'm wrong. That's
Yeah, paleontology. So that is the study of fossils. Okay. So the evidence that comes from studying the fossil, those evidence are paleontological evidence. Okay. So a study of fossil in different sedimentary layers indicates the geological period in which they existed. The study showed that the life forms varied over time and certain life forms are restricted to certain geological time spans. Did you understand this whole thing that I've just said? Hmm? No? Yes? Okay. So basically what I mean to say by this, meaning by the fossil being the evidence for evolution, is that when you look at the different layers of the soil formed millions and millions of years back, okay, in each of the level or in each of the layers, you would find the remains of certain organism. And mind you, it is not just the skeleton. It can be anything. It can be feces also. These paleontological studies, they contain the study of feces also, which may be, existing still in the form of a fossil. So when we study that, each layer, so maybe this layer, for example, is like one layer is there. Okay, like we saw the soil, these many layers are there. We're talking about this layer, any organism fossilized was found here. Now, if we make out that this layer was maybe, let's just say 5,000 years old, then this fossil maybe existed like in that particular point of time. So this fossil also existed 5,000 years ago, isn't it? Got this much? This is what they're saying. And always remember that the fossil evidence, the evidence that comes from fossil, they are known as paleontological evidence. Okay? Clear? Now, coming on to the next type of evidence, then comparative anatomy and morphology shows similarities and dissimilarities among organisms of today and those that existed years ago. First of all, tell me what is anatomy?
The internal structure of the body.
What is morphology?
The external structure of the body.
So, yes, very good. So, these structures of the body, whether it is the internal structure or the external structure, they would also tell us the relation between the organisms or the similarities. Okay. And this can help us to find out the ancestor. Okay. The common ancestor in between a certain type of organisms that we are studying about. Okay. For example, whales, bats, cheetah, and human, all sorts of mammals, share similarities in the pattern of bones of forelimbs. Okay, their forelimbs are alike. Even though whale is aquatic, bat is this thing. What do you call it? Aerial, right? And cheetah is present on the land, and humans are also present in the land. They are all different organisms, right? But their forelimb, like the way the bones are present in the hand, the forelimb, it is very similar, right? So, though these forelimbs perform different functions, such as in the whales, they would help them to swim. In the bats, it would help them to fly. Cheetah help them to climb, like to run so fast. And in humans, to do whatever I'm doing, writing and everything. So, in all these organisms, the function of the forelimb is different, right? But the bone structure of the forelimb is same, isn't it? So, isn't that denoting towards one common ancestry? Like, since all of us have like the same pattern of the bones, right? So maybe we all are connected some way possible, isn't it? Hmm? This is what they're saying. So talking about them, so all of them would have, like, what is the bone structure? So they would have humerus, radius, ulna, carpals, metacarpals, and phalanges are there in the forelimbs. Now, do you people remember what is humerus, radius, ulna, carpals, metacarpals, and phalanges? This is from 11. Also, this part that we are discussing right now, this one, it is very important. Just put moons around it. My moon looks like a banana. You put moons around it. Okay, so why putting a moon around it is because this is so important. This is repeatedly asked in questions since time immemorial. So you noted that it's important. Yes. Now coming to my question. Do you know what parts are these or which bones are these?
Phalanges are somewhere in the hands, right?
Hmm. Yes.
Maybe this part. Humerus, I think it's the arm or
The upper arm is human.
Hmm. And radius ulna? See, this part, the biceps part, right? This part. This has the humerus. Okay. Here, this part. This would have the radius and the ulna. Carpals is the wrist bone. Okay. Metacarpals, palm bones. And phalanges would be the finger bones. Okay. So these arrangements of these many bones in the forelimb. This is a forelimb. The legs are known as the hind limb. It is the same in all these organisms that we saw, but the function is different. Okay. So when the structure is same, the function is different. This type of evolution is known as divergent evolution. Divergent how? You understand the meaning of diverge? Yeah, exactly. So, meaning they start from one point, but they are diverging to all sorts of different habitats, right? Exactly. This is diverging, this is converging. Okay. These two words you have to remember. So, when I say diverging, just remember that the structure is same, the function is different. Okay. So, all of that, okay, we have radius, we have ulna and everything. Now, I'm going to swim, says the whale. I'm going to fly, says the bat. I'm going to write, says the human. And I'm going to run very fast, says the cheetah. So that is divergent evolution. and these structures, okay, the structures that are similar in the way they are formed, okay, the similar structures but with different functions, these are known as homologous structures. Homologous. Homo means same. Hmm? Now, this phenomena of having homologous structure is known as homology. So homology indicates common ancestry. That okay, maybe something is common amongst all of them. Okay. Other examples. So the examples of homology and analogy is very important. So talking about the other examples of homology. So vertebrate hearts or brains. Okay. The hearts of the vertebrates and the brains of the vertebrates, they are formed from the same structure and everything. Okay. Also, if we are talking about the botanical example of homology, so it's there also, such as in plants, the thorn and the tendrils of Bougainvillea and Cucurbita represent homology. The thorns and the tendrils. Okay, in which plant? So the thorn of Bougainvillea and the tendrils of this thing, Cucurbita. Okay, see, cucurbits are all those that that watermelon, cucumber and everything, they come under this. Okay, what they do is that they are so weak that they have to climb. Like, do you remember climbers? You might have studied climbers. So climbers climb with the help of the tendrils only because they are very weak. Okay, so what we are seeing over here is that because of the presence of thorn and tendrils, this is also representing homology, and thorns and tendrils are modifications of stem. Both are the modifications of stem, but the thorn is the act of defense, right? So that if somebody comes to eat the plant or pick the plant, that thorn is for acting as a defense. Tendril is not acting as a defense, rather it is acting as a supportive structure. So again, the origin is same, which is the modification of stem. The function is different. One is for protection, one is for support. So again, this is homology. And homology is divergent evolution. Got it? Okay, now analogy is the exact different, like opposite of it. Homology and the other word is analog. Now, if you look at the wings of the butterfly and the wings of the bird, both of them have one similar function, right? The function is flying, isn't it? The butterflies also use their wings to fly, so as the birds. So they are not, and they're like the way they are formed, meaning the wings of the butterfly, and if you look at the wings of the birds, they are very different if you look at the anatomy of them. So the anatomical structure is different, but the function is same. So this type of evolution is known as convergent evolution. Structures are different, coming at one point having the same function. Convergent. Okay. And this is analogous structures. Okay. Other examples of analogy. See, all the examples of analogy are 100% important. Okay, you just learn as however many examples are there, learn each of them. Okay, so analogy, another example is the eye of the octopus and of the mammals. Okay, anatomically they are different, but both of them are performing one function, that is sight. Talking about the flippers of the penguins and the flippers of the dolphins, both of them would allow them to swim, right? Penguins also need them to swim, and so as the dolphin, but their structures are very different. So this is analogy yet. Okay, now talking about another example in the case of plants, sweet potato. Okay, the sweet potato, that thing we eat, the sweet potato, it is a root modification. Okay, and the potato that we eat, it is a stem modification. Okay, so this is another, like one is coming from the stem, the other is coming from the root. But do you know what is the similarity in between them? I'm saying the anatomical way is different. One is coming from stem, one is coming from root. Then what is the same thing between
Both are potatoes.
them? Okay. Anything else?
They look very similar to each other, then morphology is the same.
No. We are saying that the function is same. Morphology has nothing to do. Nothing to do. Nothing to do.
They're both rich in starch.
Yeah. They're
Oh,
both,
that's right.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, that was
They're
a
both
joke.
rich.
Oh.
Yes, they're both rich in starch and they both perform the function of storage. Starch is the storage food of plant. Okay. So their function is storage. Very good. Their function is storage. Okay. Hmm. Very nice. This is what is known as tukka. Tukka lag gaya. Very good. Also, this you've understood the whole thing? Homology, analogy? Any doubts? Now see, the example of the homologous structures right in front of you. See, all of them have the common anatomical feature, right? All of the phalanges are there. They would look different because these are different organisms, but they would perform different functions. All of the bones that are present in this are present in all of them, but their functions are different. Got it? This is homology, and when the structures are anatomically different, functions are same. That is analog. Any doubt up till now? No doubts? All right, very good. Now, in the same line of argument, similarities in proteins and genes performing a given function among diverse organisms give clues to common ancestry. These biochemical similarities point to the same shared ancestry as structural similarities among diverse organisms. So, when even though the functions are different, if any point is similar amongst the population, it would actually denote towards the ancestry. Okay. Now, man has bred selected plants and animals for agriculture, horticulture, sport, or security. Man has also domesticated many wild animals and crops. This intensive breeding program has created breeds that differ from other breeds. Right? In dogs also there are so many breeds that are actually artificially created, like the pugs, the Vodafone dogs. They are not normally created. Okay, they are actually bred in some of way. Okay, but still they would belong to the dog only, right? The group dog, isn't it? All right, moving forward, another interesting observation supporting evolution by natural selection comes from England. Now, this is also very important. Very, very important. Now, in a collection of moths made in 1850s, that is before the industrialization period. Okay. So when people look at the moths, you people know what moths are? Hmm? They sort of like look like a butterfly, but they're not butterfly. They are white and very hideous. And they are sometimes in like in our homes also they come. Like if you touch their wings, it's very powdery. If
Near
you have,
the lights, they get attracted.
yeah, yes, yes. But they are like they look exactly like the butterfly, but they are not the butterfly. Okay. So before the industrialization, meaning before the industries were set up and everything, before that point of time, okay, before that, meaning in the year 1850s, in that particular time, when people saw the moths of that time, so it was observed that the moths were white wing. They were white in color. Okay, white wings. And in that point, meaning before industrialization, more of white winged moths were there on the trees as compared to the dark moths, dark winged or melanized moths. Okay. Now, after the industries were set up, meaning after the industrialization, meaning in the year 1920, there were more dark winged moths in the same area as compared to the white ones. So later on, what would happen is that, see, usually the explanation that they gave is that the predators will spot a moth against a contrasting background, meaning when a white moth is present on a dark background, the white moth can be easily spotted, or if a black moth is sitting on a white or a light background, then that can be easily spotted. Okay, so after the industrialization took place, so because of the soot, the smoke coming out from the industries, the trees they started become dark, like they started darkening in color. Okay. So the white moths which were present earlier Now, when they sat on the tree, they were easily visible. And since they were visible, look at this. So earlier, light colored trees were there. Later on, after the industrialization, dark colored trees were there. Now you can see that the white moths are so easily visible, right? When present on a contrasting background. So when the predators, whoever, that the birds or anything that eats this particular moth, so the predator would come and pick the moth, right? If it is present on a darker background, the white color would be easily picked by the predator, isn't it? Whereas as compared to this, the darker moth would survive. It will not be like under the predation of the predator, right? So what happened is that before industrialization set in, thick growth of almost white colored lichen covered the trees. Also, another thing, you know what lichens are?
The association between algae and fungi.
Hmm. So these lichen, there is a very, you can say, unique property about these lichens is that they grow wherever there is less pollution. They grow in a pollution-free area. Okay. And more particularly in any area that has SO2, sulfur dioxide, they would not grow in those areas. Okay, so before industrialization, since there was less pollution, the trees were covered with white lichen. That signified two things. First of all, that industrialization has not taken place. And secondly, no pollution was there. So because of that reason, white colored lichens were present all over the tree. Now, if at that point of time, the white moth would sit on the tree, it would camouflage, right? Whereas the brown moth will be easily visible because brown on white is easily visible, right? So then when that happened, then this brown moth was eaten by the predator and this white moth survived before industrialization. But the whole situation reversed after industrialization. Okay. So hence moths that were able to camouflage themselves, that is hide in the background, survive for both the cases. Also another thing that you can know, the other name for lichen is that they are industrial pollution indicators. Why? Because they can't grow, can't grow in polluted areas. Meaning areas that would be rich in sulfur dioxide. So, this understanding is supported by the fact that in areas where industrialization did not occur, meaning in the rural areas, the count of the melanic moths, meaning the dark ones, the count of the dark moths were low. So, this showed that in a mixed population, those that can better adapt, survive, and increase in the population size, they would be selected by the nature. Okay. Also remember that no organism is completely wiped out. It does not mean that, okay, because of natural selection, the whole entire population will be zero. It can never happen. Okay. Now, similarly, excess use of herbicides, pesticides, etc., has only resulted in the selection of resistant varieties in a much lesser time scale, right? The plants that have had pesticides sprayed on them, so they will not be attacked by the pests, so they would survive better as compared to the plants that are naturally grown, isn't it? Same thing is true for microbes also, against which we employ antibiotics or drugs. Here, the resistant organisms would have no effect and they would keep on going, such as the viruses. There is nothing to kill the virus, right? So the virus will keep on replicating, renewing themselves. Okay, now these that we are saying, like the application of herbicides, pesticides, or the antibiotics or drugs, these are examples of evolution that is taking place by anthropogenic action. Anthropogenic action means man-made actions. The evolution that is taking place because of this is anthropogenic, meaning when man is actually spraying pesticides and stuff, and because of that the plants or the varieties are being selected, then that is anthropogenic evolution. or evolution because of the man's action. But normally it is the natural selection, and because of that evolution takes place. This much is clear? Any doubts up till now? No doubts? Sure. Shall I move forward? All right. Now let us talk about adaptive radiation. Again, important. Okay. So during his journey, Darwin went to Galapagos Island. There he observed an amazing diversity of creatures. Of particular interest, small black birds, later called as Darwin's finches. Okay, these birds amazed him. Now why? Because he realized that were like in that same island, there were so many varieties of the same bird. Okay, from the original seed-eating features, many other forms with altered beaks arose. Okay, enabling them to become insectivorous. Okay, see, look at this diagram. How the beaks are different for all of them, right? So he saw that the like each of those finches, okay, the birds, their beaks differed from the feeding habits. Like for the ones that were feeding on the seeds or the insects, they had smaller beak. The ones that were feeding on the fruits, they had a different type of beak. So he said that this process of evolution, this is evolution only because the birds are same, but their beaks are evolved. Okay, so this is because of a like the geographical area they are present in. Okay, and this is starting from a point and literally radiating to other areas of the geography is known as adaptive radiation because of the adapting that this bird was doing for whatever food resource that was available. Its beak adapted that nature, right? Because if the bird has to pick the insects, so its beak has to be smaller, its beak has to be sharp so that it can actually go into the soil or whatever to pick out the insect. And if the bird has to eat the fruit, then the beak does not have to be very sharp. Rather, it has to be something that can take a lot of food inside, right? So this is how the beaks would vary from the different geographical point. So here they say that the process of evolution of different species in a geographical area, starting from one point and literally radiating to others, right? The other geographical area, this type of evolution or this type is known as adaptive radiation. And the best example is Darwin's finches. Okay, this is one example. Darwin's finches is one example of adaptive radiation. Now, another example is Australian marsupials. Now, a number of marsupials, each different from each other, evolved from an ancestral stock, but all within the Australian land continent. Okay, so Australian island continent. So, in that particular area only, you can find different types of marsupials adapted to different geographical areas. Okay, now here look, like this is all of them are marsupials only, but all of them are different from each other. Okay, and because of the way they or the geographical area they live in. Okay, so talking about them. So first is marsupial, like Australian marsupials, they also exhibit adaptive radiation, meaning their evolution starts from one point and they literally radiate to other geographical areas where they are different from each other. Okay. Then came placental mammals. Okay, placental mammals in Australia also exhibit adaptive radiation in evolving into varieties of such placental mammals, each of which appear to be similar to a corresponding marsupial. So the placental mammals would actually appear very similar to the Australian mammals in the adaptive radiation. Let us see what are the examples. So the mole, which is a placental mammal, would be similar to the marsupial mole. The anteater will be similar to the numbat, which is the marsupial anteater. The mouse to the marsupial mouse. Then the lemur to the spotted cuscus. Okay, then comes the flying squirrel to the flying phalanger. And ultimately, bobcat to the Tasmanian tiger cat and wolf to the Tasmanian wolf. So this is showing adaptive radiation, and between them, between whom? So between the placental mammals and the marsupial mammals. Both of them are in Australia only, but they are evolved differently. Okay, this much is clear. So the evidences of evolution, first is fossil, second is divergent evolution, that is homology, third is convergent evolution, that is analogy, and fourth is adaptive radiation. These four are the evidences for evolution. Also the industrial melanism, that is also the example of this thing only, convergent evolution. Okay, any doubts up till now? Nothing? No doubts? Okay. Also see, in the homology, wherein what is homology? What is homology?
When they have the same structure, but they perform different functions.
So in that I said the human brain, like the brain, the vertebrate's brain and the vertebrate's heart are another example of homology. How do you think that can be possible? Hmm?
Ma'am, can you repeat your question?
Yeah, my question is, how is, like I said, that the vertebrate's brain and the vertebrate's this thing, what did I say? Heart. Both of them are homologous structures. How? Like, I mean, what would be the same function, or what would be how are they homologous? That is my question.
Ma'am, that homologous is same structure and different functions, right?
Hmm.
So the vertebrae of the brain and the heart would have different function, right?
Yeah, they would have different function. Now talking about the hearts, so see, the basic plan of the heart would be same, meaning auricles, ventricles, these will be there. But the way the circulation is done, that would be for fishes, amphibians, reptiles, and mammals. Okay. Then coming for the brain, so the basic function, meaning having all sorts of nerves and everything, would be same in all of them. But like how, if we talk about the fishes, they don't need to have a proper intellectual brain because they cannot talk. Same way, humans, they have a more developed cerebrum because we can talk, we can write, and all sorts of things. So here functions are different, but the basic plan, having the nerves, having the cerebrum and everything, is the same.
I see. I thought your question was how is the brain and the heart similar? I
No,
didn't
no,
think that
no.
it was. That's why I got confused and that's why I asked again.
Yeah. The but remember, okay, another thing that I was wanting to say is that the example, all of the examples that are given in homology, all of the examples that are given in analogy, it should be on the tip of the tongue. You should not forget it because it's very important. Okay, got it?
That was my Viva question. The convergent, divergent, and
Hmm. It will come in Viva, definitely, definitely. Like they directly ask you. They'll never ask you about the theories. But this part is the more analytical part, and this is asked always in theory, in Viva, and everything. So this much is clear to you people? All right. Now let us come to the biological evolution. Is anyone bored? Bored? Oh, okay. All
never have
right.
I ever checked the time so many times in biology class.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yes,
but
every
even I am also checking the
I
time.
wanna
Like
sleep.
all of us are checking the time. Oh God, we are
if
ridiculous.
yeah, you finish a topic, I check the time, and then you finish a topic, I again check the time.
All right. Okay. So, for 2 minutes, let us talk about something else. Let us drive off this, and then we'll drive again back. So, Say something nice. Anyone. You have the liberty to. Only for 2 minutes. Though.
What do you want to talk about?
Say something nice. Say one thing nice. Both of you.
Flowers.
Hmm?
Flowers.
Flowers.
Yeah, flowers.
Yeah.
Flowers.
Definitely. What are your favorite flowers?
Lily. No, go
Lily.
ahead, go ahead. I
And
think
Yusuf,
he's
what
trying
about
to.
you? Do boys have favorite flowers? I'm just curious.
Flowers?
Yeah. Is there any
Carrot.
favorite? Huh? Did he say carrot?
I heard carrot, yeah.
Did you really said carrot? Okay, now you have given me such a big inspiration now. If there's anyone that I want to gift a flower to, I would definitely give them a carrot. How could you say carrot? How did carrot become a flower? When did it become a flower?
It's actually
Carrot?
so unique. Moon, carrots.
Yes, Yusuf. What are you so bored that your normal thinking is affected? Okay, so we asked him a tough question because I don't think boys have a favorite flower, right?
That was quite tough.
Hmm. What about favorite colors? What are your favorite colors?
Black.
Black. What about you, Rajat?
Black as well.
Black.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yours is pink.
What is
Mine
your
is pink. Pink. All right. Mm. Okay. Since 2024 is coming, right? So, what is that one thing you people aspire to be in 2024? Like one thing as a human that you want to do in a better way in the next year? Something that you want to change, leave in 2023 and a new habit or anything you want to implement in the next year.
Now you go first.
I go first.
You go first, yes.
Okay. I want to be consistent. I am not. I want to be consistent with anything that I do, whether it is if I'm trying to follow a diet, I want to be consistent at it. If I'm, like us Muslims have to pray 5 times a day. I want to be consistent in that. So consistency is something I'm looking forward to 2024. What about you?
For me, it will be to stop procrastinating, to stop being lazy.
Yeah, that's mine too. Yeah, that I think that's for everyone also. Everyone thinks this like, okay, let's not procrastinate anymore. Yeah, that's for everyone. Okay, Rajasa, yours?
Um, Mine is to be a bit more optimistic about myself. I feel like whenever it comes to myself, I'm a bit pessimistic, a little self-hatred. So I wanted to be more optimistic
Yeah,
about myself.
that's good. That's good. That's nice. Hmm. Okay. Anything else? I mean, not the same topic, but any other topic.
Cats or dogs?
Hmm?
Cats or dogs?
I think
Cats or
rabbit
dogs?
plants.
Yeah, rabbits. But if I had to choose, I don't know. I'm scared of both of them.
You're scared of dogs.
I'm scared of animals in general. I had my pet and I did not touch him for 1 year because I was so scared. I was scared for my life. I have a very bad phobia of animals. Bad phobia. I mean, like, it's a proper phobia. I'm not even kidding. It's like, I had a tiny baby bunny and like my brother kept it on my leg. I was like panicking. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die. So I wouldn't choose any because I don't know what it's like to be with them. And as far as rabbits go, they are very timid. They're not never going to attack you. Cats would, dogs would, but the rabbit would never. My rabbit does not care about me. So there you go, rabbit.
I would choose cats any day. My sister have like so many cats.
You
So
have
many.
cats?
Like
Okay.
back in India. She's in India.
Okay, okay.
So she has so many cats.
Okay. And what about you, Rajita? Do you have any pets?
I do not have pets. And I would choose dogs. Dogs any day. I do not like
Dogs.
cats.
Okay. All right. See, cat people, dog people, rabbit people. Great. Now, let's hop on back to biological evolution.
What a
Enough
wonderful.
stimulation? Hmm? All right. Now, moving forward, we'll talk about biological evolution. Okay, so evolution by natural selection, in a true sense, would have started when cellular life forms appeared, right? And all of those life form would have different metabolic capability, right? Because each living being is different from each other. Now, the essence of Darwinian theory about evolution is natural selection. Now, what Darwin says about evolution is with the help of natural selection. Okay. Now, the rate of appearance of new life or new forms is linked to the life cycle or the lifespan. Microbes that divide fast have the ability to multiply and become millions of individuals within hours, right? A colony of bacteria, say A, growing on a given medium, has built in variation in terms of ability to utilize a feed component, right? See, since they would multiply faster, they would use up all the nutrients given to them. Okay. And apart from that, uh, a change in the medium composition would bring out only the part of the population, say B, that can actually survive under that condition. Meaning they are adapting to the new condition, they're surviving under that, right? So we can say that in this time period, one population would grow and one population would not. Okay. Now, for the same thing to happen in a fish or a fowl would take millions of years, as lifespans of these animals are in years, right? Bacteria's lifespan is very little if you compare it with a fish or a fowl or any type of organ, right? Now, here we can say that the fitness of B is much better than that of the A under new conditions, isn't it? Wait, who joined? All right. So, nature selects for fitness. And one must remember that this fitness is reproductive fitness. Okay, is based on the characteristics which are inherited. Hence, there must be a genetic basis for getting selected and to evolve. Another way of saying the same thing is that some organisms are better adapted to survive in an otherwise hostile environment. Adaptive ability is inherited. It has a genetic basis. Okay? Meaning whatever that ability is there to adapt to any harsh condition or any environment that is not the normal or the usual environment. So those are actually the inherited qualities. Okay, they are actually passed on from one generation to another. So talking about, we'll study till here only. So talking about the two concepts that come under the Darwinian theory of evolution. The first one is branching descent and the second one is natural selection. These are the two key concepts. They directly ask you the question as to what are the two key concepts, explain them. Explanation of both of them I will do in the next class, but up till now you should know that the two key concepts are branching descent and natural selection. Okay. Any doubts up till now?
Ma'am, is the natural selection we learned about a while ago different from this one in any way? Or
No. It's the same that we studied. It's the same. Okay. Now see. No, I will explain this in the next class because this is something different. All right. Now tell me if you people have any doubts. Is there anything you people want to ask me? No? All right. Okay. So like the dates for your boards exam have been out. Did you
yes,
people
ma'am.
get in like a timetable? When is your biology exam?
It's on the 19th
19th of
March.
March.
No, 19th of March.
Okay, 19th of March.
It's
And
the
how many
last
days do
exam.
you have for the preparation? Like in between? Like what is the exam before it?
Well, for me, I have psychology
Before biology.
before biology.
And how
Yes.
many
For
days are
me,
there
for
in
me, before biology is maths.
maths? How many days do you
9th
go?
March.
9th March
I,
is
I
maths?
have I have 10 days of gap.
I have 3 days of gap.
Oh no.
But then it's okay because psychology has only 7 lessons and psychology has 11 days. So during that time, I can just study for psychology and biology. So I'm fine.
All right. Okay, good, good, good. Also, it's a very not so humble, but a very dominant request from my side. Please study well. I want good for. Okay.